And we are live already. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Marco,
Thank
uh,
you very much for having me here.
on a beautiful Sunday, a Sunday late evening for Marco in Torino, Italy. And he is my second guest today. How wonderful it is on a Sunday. I hope you have your drinks, your coffee, whatever you want with you. And Marco Tessiore, if I'm not mispronouncing it,
You're
is
correct. Absolutely.
cool. Is a certified facilitator based in Italy, but he also travels. He's very close to the Castello di Casalborgone, and he does facilitate the X-Men classes and many different classes and telecalls. Today, our topic in general is his perspective we're going to get on presumptive and reactive realities, and I want to ask him about being a gentleman. And he's doing classes about receiving from men. In that sense, that's a topic we haven't explored yet in this group. I would like to ask you, Marco, what is your take on how, of course, in this reality, we have so much presumptions and reactions about men or women, or being a gentleman or not being a gentleman. I would love to hear from you what your own perspective on this topic is, since the presumptive and reactive realities came out, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this question. Well, first of all, I like to say that the presentive and the reactive reality, I think they really invite us to see not just what is true for us, but what can we look that we always consider to be truth.
Hmm.
That is maybe a lot more this reality than not. And in specific, in the topic of gentlemen, um, well, what come up for me to say is that gentleman is someone that choose dynamically his own awareness
Hmm.
and that choose to actually be aware of like everybody else awarenesses, not just like men or women. There is a level of kindness, there is a level of regards that a gentleman choose, and I guess often according to the culture, I would say like we had standard and presumptive realities about gentlemen,
Hmm.
like how they have to dress or what type of social level they have to come from, what education they have to be, or how they have to present themselves. For me, I think it's really much more about the being and the choices, or being not cutting ourselves off and actually be inviting women and other men to
Hmm.
stepping up into their greatness and into their being.
Hmm.
And I think what gentlemen can choose is to receive, which is
Hmm.
something where, like, actually, interestingly, men are not often invited to
Yes.
receive.
Hmm.
And I can tell there are like men with great capacity of receiving. It's just like often they're not invited.
Hmm.
The interesting part of, I think, the presumptive realities is oftentimes gentle or gentleman is confused with nice.
Hmm. Yeah.
But being nice, in nice, there is not, there are like very different energy, I would say. And
Yeah.
I don't see nice, there is not the caring, like the true
Hmm.
caring. The nice, there's not the um, empowerment.
Hmm.
And in nice, there is also not being willing to know what is required and what a person can receive.
Wow, the beautiful way to put it. Yeah, and being nice, as you said, just ping me. It's already an expectation, a presumption from people. And if whatever they define as nice, if you are not matching that presumption, then there comes the reactive realities, and according to whatever they deem is appropriate or not appropriate. And being raised, of course, every culture is different, but there's so many cultures where they emphasize men or boy children more over girl children. How would you see, what would you give from your perspective, being raised as a man, as a boy? What were you aware of, and what came out to your awareness, especially after access?
Well, I would say that like being raised as a boy, I knew that there were like things I was not interested in. Like I
Mhm,
was different. Like especially in Italy, there is this kind of like big projections. Like my generation that like boys have to play soccer, like
mhm.
football. They have
Yeah.
to like cheer for a team or another one. They have to go in sport or they have to have like interest even like when a kid play with little cars. For me there was a big attraction for nature. I was
Mhm,
like really big in the discovery of like animals and creatures and flowers and even like dinosaurs and all this kind of stuff when I was a kid. So there was like a totally different like a level of communion I would say with nature and they didn't know what to do. And it was interesting because also like in the um I had to look at also like what were the presentive reality about like the Italian man, which
yeah.
usually is a macho or usually is like I don't know, there are like expectation and so. And for me it was kind of like interesting because I could actually force myself in being that, but
Mhm.
there was not ease into it at all.
Well, yeah. And
So
mhm,
even like the like my first relationship with like a women and girl and so I often also like I was called like, oh, you're really kind, you're even too gentle.
mhm.
And to me it's interesting because like now I don't see the possibility of like the too gentle doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
totally.
just a level of presence, it's just a level of receiving, it's just like a level also of space you can choose to be.
Mhm. And versus, the being kind nice, and the presumption of this reality versus being a true gentleman. You talked about it, but what is, let's say something is coming up that you don't desire or you're not okay with. What does a true gentleman, receiving as a true gentleman, be like in that scenario? Because there's a lot of misconception and a lot of presumption about a gentleman has to be perfect, but the perfection is already a judgment, and it's almost misidentified and misimplied, like chivalry, or like a nostalgia, or utopian ideal, which is so far from the truth.
Well, absolutely, especially because like perfection is an insanity.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really exist, it's an invention. Well, I would say if there is something that comes up and it doesn't work for me, first of all, like a gentleman will be an allowance,
Mm-hmm.
even in order to really have the awareness of what it is and to look at it and to allow it to exist without to call it or to judge it. At
Mm-hmm.
the same time, would include himself in a way that would basically choose to look and clarify that maybe there are like things that don't work for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different though to be open about what doesn't work for you and
Mm-hmm.
to make someone feel guilty or like judge someone for choosing or proposing something that doesn't work for you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where like the allowance create the difference because when you're actually choosing to be an allowance of other people or someone else, you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
to judge them. Sorry, they just can choose it and they just can be whatever is required for them to be in that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that you have to follow it or you have to do it too or you have to like separate. You can just like be in the space of being like, I'm not interested in it, like thank you, or like this just doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a different level of presence that became available
Mm-hmm.
because like separation is choice.
Mm-hmm.
Beside allowance is a space, which
Yeah.
doesn't mean to be a doormat, but
Yeah.
like just like a space of awareness where You're choosing to be aware of what other people choose, and you're choosing to be aware if it works for you or not. And
Totally.
this does not have to define anything.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to put it, really.
Well, I
This.
have friends. I have friends. They choose like stuff. They the work they do, or like
Mhm,
the relationship they choose. That
mhm,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't align with that. I wouldn't choose it for myself.
mhm,
Although I know that it's there is something that works for them at this point with
mhm,
that. Maybe that's what will allow them to choose something different in case. And they don't have to. They really don't have to choose anything different. And we're still friends.
mhm. In many of the cultures, the separation, of course, starts from gender difference. And whatever your sexual orientation is, there's another separation. And in many cultures, I notice saying no belongs to women. It's not about men, is not about saying no, but it's the one, hunting or whatever, but more like a feminine aspect rather than a masculine aspect. It is a huge area that we go to a lot of judgments, points of view, and separations. What would you suggest as a gentleman to receive from men, or being a gentleman in his own right and with his own choice? What one or two tools would you give them, suggest them, to be beyond this realities, norms?
Well, first of all, I will always kind of like look at what going to create more.
Hmm.
Because when you're willing to look at what's going to create more, is a way to include everybody in everything and not just like you
Yeah,
or the other person.
yeah.
And the other things is also like what is required.
Hmm.
And I would say like recently, exactly with what is show up with the need of reactive realities and the presumptive reality, maybe also looking at, is there a need that I can met here?
Hmm.
Because oftentimes when we actually spot a need, we
Hmm.
almost like look at this as something wrong. Oh, this person has this need. Oh, this person require me or need me to. But what if actually we can look at the need and be like, oh, okay, there is a need to meet. And if I
Hmm.
met it, like, would it create greater? Is it is the thing that is required?
Beautiful.
If I choose this, would create more.
Hmm.
And so what I would say, it's interesting because like when you talk about the no is not by men or is only by women, is that to me it's just, what if it's not about no or yes? What if it's about choice?
Yes.
Because also like when you're willing to ask for what you like and what you desire,
Hmm.
that's an empowerment of a choice.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is like, let's say a beautiful woman never actually showed the interest for the man that maybe she likes. She might never actually get a question, a connection, or notice by this man.
Hmm.
Same way, a man can be popular, and at least like if he is not asking to the woman he likes or he's interested to have a conversation, to have a drink, to have a walk, to have a dinner, whatever. Like you will never know if there is a chemistry, there is a possibility, what is possible to create.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what if it's the interesting part is like, what if instead of look at the no, we look at like what choice we have, what question can we be?
Yes. And the way you say about need and creating for more, will this create more, being in question, it goes beyond the resistance and reaction to any, awareness that you might have, or aligning and agreeing that you have to do it, and resisting in the same time that you don't want to do it, yada yada. It goes beyond all of those, which create the reactive realities. It's been being present with everyone in a different space. That is so beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting this conversation because actually, when we are like invited to share what we know and what we're looking at through these
Yeah.
new tools of these like magnifiers of the reactive and presumptive reality,
Mm.
we really see as, oh, maybe I don't know, It can be the culture where like I had the things where I have to do the first step because I'm a man.
Yeah.
Beside like what a man can invite a woman to.
Hmm. Or a man if they want to.
Oh yeah, totally. Like accordingly to preferences, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, truly, I think it's these tools are a game changer.
Yeah.
And when we are willing to actually look at more the choices we have and the
Yes.
question now we can ask,
Yes.
things change since a lot of times for the longest time, and we still have this misidentification with choice and reaction.
Hmm.
The number of things we think we choose, we're actually reacting to something. There can be maybe also social paradigms. And
Yes.
so, while the choice is always a matter of creation, and with a choice, a different reality is available. All the time we have to choose.
Totally. And the true choice exists where there is no presumption and no point of view.
Absolutely. That's
And
why
yeah,
it's amazing to actually like take the
yeah,
time to clear things out
exactly.
and look at also like what we believe to be true about us, about others, about like the things we should supposed to do, don't supposed to do, don't supposed to choose or supposed to ask.
Yes. Thank you, Marco. It's a beautiful, it's a different topic we haven't explored before, as I said. Do you have any upcoming class creations around, receiving from men or any other classes that we can announce to listeners?
On this topic is interesting because at the moment I don't.
Okay,
Um,
we'll
and
follow.
and I will, and I will have, and I will have.
Yes.
Although this is also something I explore in my X-Men classes
Oh,
because
beautiful.
in the X-Men classes I see receiving as one of the X-Men capacity,
Hmm.
as a capacity of communion. And when there is communion, there's not just communion with the gender, but there is also communion with like really everybody. So
Yes.
especially in the aspect of like relationship or gender. And so
Hmm.
X-Men have abilities and capacity,
Yeah.
and they function in a way that can really create something different when it's invited to.
Beautiful. And
So I talk about this topic in those classes as well, or like whatever, even in body classes, wherever there is this energy that, or
yeah,
wherever there is a possibility of like looking and changing something.
yes. So yeah, if you want to follow, you can find them on social media. Access website is a great place to see the classes, upcoming classes. And thank you very much, Marco, for this beautiful perspective. It was a pleasure talking to you and see you somewhere in
Likewise.
the world.
Thank you
Thank
so much. Looking forward to the
you,
moment.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody, and have a good Sunday.
Yes, thank you.